My name is Apanaki Temitayo. She, her are my pronouns. I consider myself to be a Afro-Caribbean artist based here in Toronto. I was born here, but I was raised in Trinidad and Tobago. And I am highly influenced by my African Caribbean, I could say it, culture and how I grew up. And I definitely showcase that work in my artwork, definitely centered around the continent of Africa in regards to the use of African fabrics, aesthetics, and stuff in my artwork.
Beautiful. So you are the artist in residence at the Nia Center.
Yes, I am currently the artist in residence, and it has been a joy to be a part of the first Black art space per se, which is not only for showcasing work, but creating work, supporting work, and giving a space to display our work to the community and to Toronto at large.
Hmm. And
Mhm.
how has working out of a Black cultural center or Black Center for the Arts, how has that impacted your work and your art?
It has honestly given me so much energy and has reinforced my art practice because to be in a space that is absolutely Black, to be in Little Jamaica where we as immigrants from the West Indies had our own space in Toronto in that small area. To then have an art space where I could interact with people within my community and also create work within that space. That is something I don't think I'll ever get back because that I've never had something that was so encompassing that it made my focus really narrow about what I was really trying to do in that space, and also buoyed me up when my own community then felt positively about the work that I was creating also because they saw themselves reflected in my work.
That's beautiful. That's
Mhm.
beautiful. And so in your intro to this interview, you mentioned that your culture and your heritage inspires your work.
Yeah.
So can you speak a bit more to that and how your culture and your heritage shows up in your work and the impact of your work as well that you want?
I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. Even though I was born here, I was like taken when I was, let's see, 1 or 2 years old back home, and I didn't really come back to Canada until in my 20s. So I would say I consider myself more Trinidadian than Canadian. And the influence of the music, the culture, carnival overall, the multiculturalism of Trinidad and Tobago as well, because it's not only Black and East Indian, but there's Chinese, Syrian. Like we have all these different cultural melting pots within that one island. I think what I love about it the most is the fact that I think we're truly a melting pot because we really appreciate each other's culture as opposed to appropriating. And to see that work in day to day living, my interactions, my friends, my family, people who I love and hold dear to me, that definitely influenced my work. I believe my color palette, somebody asked me about that the other day, and I think it's basically the memories of fabrics and familiar family interactions around fabric and clothing and keepsakes and stuff like that I grew up with. So those colors play a big part in my work. So I tend to lean towards a lot of very bright fabrics. I'm really unapologetic about using African fabrics in my work. I tend to also do that in my own wearing of my own of those fabrics within how I dress. So it's a kind of extension of my art. I just think that it just buoys me up and it makes me really happy to see it in art form. And then I know it also brings joy to other people when they see my work.
Hmm.
So I think I'm really paying homage to my heritage by using those fabrics and incorporating those color palettes in my work.
Oh, I love that. That
Mhm.
really nicely segues into my next question, which is, what does your art do for your soul?
My art actually started off as therapy for me. Because when I started off as an artist, it was not, it was very reluctantly. I had a job as a chef and I was doing relatively well as a chef, and unfortunately had a mental breakdown at work due to the stresses of my job, and ended up having to leave that and kind of start over in therapy. And in therapy, I learned that textile art, we're using textile art in order to speak to trauma. And it was the first time I ever thought of using textiles in art form as opposed to paints and everything else. And at the time, it was just like quilting, making garments, that kind of thing. When I finally got a chance to actually be part of an art organization like Workman Arts that I'm a member of, where I got access to all these art based programs for free for people with mental health and addiction, I decided that this would be the perfect place to explore that. And in so doing, I got a chance to, okay, I'm going to make a piece that is mixed media. At the time, I didn't even know what mixed media was. And I said, you know what I want on it? I want African fabric. I want other things that are definitely not just paint based or typical visual arts based. So I put sequins on it, I put shells on it, put stones on it. I really threw all the things that made me feel at home on the piece. And the piece was called the Gungun, which means the ancestors in Yoruba. And I decided to submit that to being seen in 2012. And it got accepted. And then next thing you know, I actually had a piece of work in an exhibition for the very first time. And then I saw how people were affected by my work. And then I decided, I just want to see and try this. And then I Googled how many pieces are in a collection. And they said more or less 10 to 15 pieces. And then I decided to make 10 to 15 pieces that I called the Igungun collection. It was about 10 pieces. And I delved deeply into African masks from the diaspora that kind of reflected the ancestral mask and different types of masks, and literally used this new technique that I was developing with fabrics and sequins and shells and whatever else I decided to put on it. And it was really well received. I sold a couple of those pieces, and that kind of started my artistic journey.
Oh, beautiful.
Hmm.
I love that.
Yeah,
I'm so happy for you that it found you.
yeah. It was really, honestly, it. I think art has saved my life. Honestly, it has given me so many opportunities. It has helped me speak to things within myself that I didn't have the words for. And it also helped me connect with people and have people find themselves within my art. And not only Black people, but all people of color, because I've had people who were non Black but BIPOC who literally came up to me and say, "Thank you so much for doing your work. When I came in and I saw your work, I saw myself in your work. I saw the colors that were like either traditional to my culture, or it was different from all the other work that seemed to not be so like unapologetic and in your face and just, just fearless." And it made them happy. So in turn, I feel like I'm doing the job that I'm supposed to do as an artist by bringing up emotions in my work, hopefully positively. Sometimes not always, but people get it when they get it.
I love that.
Hmm.
That's a nice feeling to feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Can you speak a bit to the importance of making art for the BIPOC community specifically?
I think I can speak to it like this. There have been instances in my life, especially as an artist, especially even as an art facilitator, that I've been the only Black face in the room. That my work spoke so loudly within those spaces that you realize that it was a lot different from all the other artwork that was in that exhibition or in the space, or even as an art facilitator among other art facilitators. And I felt, especially as a visible woman, BIPOC Black woman who is pansexual, who is also battles mental illness by depression and PTSD, that me being so visible in spaces that were not always welcoming just in its own self was defiance. In its own self was, how I could say it, was pushing against the system. Because a lot of people have come from my workshops and literally at the end of my workshop said, I've never done something like this. I would have never thought of using African fabric like paint. I would have never thought of doing an abstract piece like this. I would have never thought of doing like even play where I'm using like finger paints if we were in kindergarten and that kind of thing, and kind of tapping into their inner child. To be able to be visible in communities, sometimes being the only artist in that space to affect that kind of change, I think that in itself is really revolutionary and resisting against what the status quo would be.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You
Mhm.
articulated that beautifully. Especially what you said about how just existing as a person of color in those spaces is defiance. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I could see how that would birth really beautiful art from that.
Mhm.
So for my next question, can you walk me through the different feelings that you feel as an artist in a Black space like the Nia Center versus a predominantly white space?
I have a perfect example of that. Over the summer, I had a chance to actually be in a, I would consider, predominantly white space at the Art Gallery of Toronto, where I got a chance to showcase my work within a 2 month period to showcase a collection that was close to my heart called the Muses Collection, that really was focusing on the overturning of Roe versus Wade and the true fallout of what that would be for people of color, especially for Black women and BIPOC people. And the fact that we would not have access to having safe abortions or having financial access to even get it if they were available. So I made this collection and there were a couple pieces that were at the AGO, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be great because this is an institution that literally speaks to, this is supposed to be one of the benchmarks if you want to be an artist in Toronto to a certain extent and really be recognized to showcase your work there. But unfortunately, my experience was not as supportive and as uplifting that I thought it would be. I thought that because of me being at the AGO shop and the fact that I did have a display wall and a chance to showcase my work, that I'd be able to actually that because of the platform that it was, that they would do everything in their power in order to make sure that people found out exactly what my work was about, what it spoke to, that it wasn't just something that was just pretty, but it had legs, it had a story. It was to highlight and uplift a community that sometimes is invisible, especially in things of that nature. But unfortunately for me, that was not exactly how it played out in regards to the support and the social media support, and even there were activities within the AGO over the summer that were happening that could have helped even be a parallel to what I was doing and to highlight it even more, especially as an artist of color within an institution that is supposed to do diversity and inclusion as well, because they do happen to have a diversity and inclusion department. So it was saddening for me to have that experience over the summer and then get the opportunity to be with the Nia Centre shortly after, and then see that whole the whole kind of support of an artist kind of being turned on its head in regards to how I was really welcomed within my own community at the Nia Centre. I was totally supported as an artist. I was given a big enough space that I could create something new with my art collection. That's my art quilt collection, my very first of its kind. I was given opportunities to showcase my work to the community, to have community members come in and speak to me about what I was creating while I was in my space. I was given opportunities to be interviewed by places like CBC and Heritage Toronto right now, and even doing a little bit for TVO Kids and all these amazing, accessible things that just bore me up as an artist. Because
Mm,
it's not only for you to be in that space, but it's also for you to feel supported and truly nurtured and truly know that when you came into that space, that they want you to leave better than you came in,
mm,
that you would get these opportunities that will hopefully push your career forward in such a way that you'll be able to have more eyes look on your work, more opportunities for people to find out about the little nuances about why you do what you do. So to have those two experiences happen back to back and see what it means to be in a community that truly supports you, and also to have people who look like you get excited about your work, get excited about what your future is going to the future of your work is going to be. That is something that is immeasurable. That is
mm,
something that I will hold dear to my heart forever. And
mm.
I'm already seeing the many opportunities that I have already started to get within 2024. And I haven't, like, literally at the end of this week, I'm ending my residency and I have so many things lined up for the following year. So I
Mm.
feel very blessed. Very, very grateful to Nia and to Alika Hall and to all the people who play a small part in making my experience with them such a gracious and beautiful and exciting experience. And I just can't wait to see what this is going to create in itself moving forward.
Oh, I love that, Apanaki. I'm so happy you're there. You really deserve it. That's a beautiful entrance into our last question.
Mhm.
So, what do you hope that your art will do for your community? How do you hope that your art will impact your community?
I, I could say there's one thing that is going to be happening for me next year that I'm so excited about, and I believe that I can speak about it too. My kids have also always been part of Big Brothers Big Sisters program. From the first time I'm coming here as a single parent and having kids, I've been part of their program for mostly 15 years. My eldest, who's going to be turning 28 in January, has a big that she's still in contact with. So did my middle daughter, and so does my son. And they just approached me about publicly speaking to their new Black initiative, where they're totally going to be focusing on the Black community and building up certain programs specifically for that community. To literally be someone who came in as a client and then having the opportunity to now impact young lives right back within Little Jamaica is just, that's 360 right there. I am seeing how that is going to impact my community. And public speaking, yes, is one thing, but hopefully it'll lead to more things where I can maybe do workshops and stuff like that. But I am definitely focused on really having more or accepting more opportunities which would impact my community,
Mm,
where I can actually be meeting with the young and amazing minds of the Black community and telling them about how I became an artist, letting them know that no, they don't necessarily have to go to OCAD in order to be able to impact the community in their art,
Mm.
to be able to show them how their mental wellness could also be supported within art as well when they can't have a voice to speak onto what they want to do, or they have a bad situation that they just don't have the words for, that I can give them tools in order to be able to do that from my own lived experience of doing that myself. And I have also impacted communities that deal with with trauma, women of color specifically, with Sistering, which is an organization I hold really dear to my heart, and I've worked with them for a number of years as well. So I'm truly looking forward to what 2024 is going to look like. This will not be the last time you'll see me at the Nia Centre, because I intend to make sure and give back to the community the same way they gave back to me by really doing programming at Nia, really aligning myself with them if there are any projects that we can work together on. But this is not going to be the last of me doing that within the community. And I really loved being in Little Jamaica. I loved coming into a building where I saw people who looked like me, who understood from the get go what it meant to be in this body and to be doing this work, and who just supported me with unconditional love and understanding and support that really I will truly miss. So yes, I'm really excited for what the next couple of years is going to be like for me.
Oh, Afanaki, that's wonderful. That's
Mhm.
wonderful. And when you talked about that 360 moment, 360 feeling, giving back to the community, like that's what placemaking is all about. It comes from the community and propels that same community. And so you are a perfect example of Black placemaking, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future too.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for speaking with me, Afanaki. And yeah,
Mhm.
everybody check out Afanaki's work. She's a beautiful, amazing artist inside and out. And I'm really grateful that we could all learn from her today. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm totally grateful for this opportunity, and thank you so much, Selma, for this.
Of course. Thank you.
Mhm.